So when is it time to say goodbye and move on from a relationship? That's a tough question, and I know a lot of people struggle with that. The reason I'm focusing on this right now is because I got some friends that have dealt with this recently, moving on from relationships or possibly moving on from relationships. And the way I'm going to handle things on this channel is just when I feel passionate about something, I'm going to jump on it. That's basically the way it's going to be handled. So I don't have this like mapped out or anything, no script or anything like that, and that's really the way I want it to be. I want it to be, from the heart, just spur of the moment. When I feel passionate about something, I'm just going to set up and record. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So as far as this topic goes, let's start off with reasons why people do stay together. And I think there are some particular reasons. Obviously, some people will say love right away. And I know you can hear it in my voice that I'm questioning that already. So we'll get into that. Some people will say love, some people just off of history. You have some people in serious relationships, there might be children involved. Okay, so they may stay together for the kids. I'll say let's go with those three. Okay, now first of all, as far as love is concerned, I just question it a lot of times. Is the love really still there? Because really, I guess love and history kind of go together. Because if you're talking about love that you used to have, then that's not a reason to stay together. Let's say that you've been together for 10 years. 2 years were amazing. 8 years has been drama. There's been cheating. There's been lying. All these different things going on. Then it's like, what are you hanging on to? So, yeah, if the love is not really there anymore, then what's the point? And some people will say that they're still in love with somebody. But if you really were to follow up with them and you question them and you try to get them to break it down, they'll probably come to the realization that no, they're not really in love anymore. They might have love for the person, but they're not really in love. When we say in love, we're talking about that butterflies feeling, just feeling happy when the person walks in the room. You struggle when you're away from that person for an extended period of time. You really miss them and things like that. So there's a big difference between that type of love and just saying, you have love for somebody and you care for them. So if there's not that passionate love there anymore, then really there's nothing to hang on to there. And like I said, history as well. History is just not enough. Okay, if you've been with somebody for a long time, that's just not reason enough to stick with them. There's got to be a lot more to it. It's not about what they did for you in the past, or what the way they made you feel in the past. What's going on right now? Because right now is what really matters. That's what really matters, because you have to take care of yourself right now. You have to think about your responsibilities right now. You have to look at your health right now, because relationships play a big role on your health. I'll say that from experience. As a matter of fact, I had this in my mind that I want to share this. So I was going to hold off, but let me go ahead and get into this right now. Towards the end of my marriage, I was, at the time, I had a job that many people would say, yeah, it is a stressful job. But so I thought that may have been playing a role in the way that I was feeling, because basically I was having chest pains. I really didn't let anybody know, because I didn't know if it was just in my mind or what was going on there. Which of course I know is kind of an irresponsible thing to do, to not get checked up or anything. But literally after I decided to go ahead and move out, and things just kind of fell in place for me, because it was a situation where I had moved in. I left my apartment and I moved in with my ex, and that's where we stayed. We stayed at the house that she was renting. And big piece of advice for all of you out there: if you're gonna live with somebody, find a neutral spot. Get a place together. No, don't have one person move in with the other, because to me, in the long run, that's bound to create problems. So that's a big piece of advice there. If you're going to live together, get a new place. I don't care if somebody already owns a house and it's going to help you financially, like whatever it may be. I strongly suggest that you get a place together, so you don't have that issue down the line where one person feels like they have sway over the other person. They just boot them out, So to me, that's a big piece of advice there. But anyway, so yeah, I moved in with her, and once I pretty much expressed to her that, I just felt like she didn't love me. I genuinely felt like she didn't love me because of certain things that had happened, and I felt like we weren't getting anywhere because I was trying to fix so many of the issues that we had, and yet any way that I tried to fix it, she resisted it, she complained about it, and then I would try to get her to come up with solutions, and shoulder shrugs, nothing in return. So it was just a lot of stress that was unnecessary, a lot of stress that was manufactured, and I had to go. So literally, right after I left, I would say maybe 2 or 3 days later, all that the chest pains and everything was just gone. And I was like, wow, I had no idea that she was stressing me that bad, that the situation was stressing me out that bad. So yeah, you got to move on for the sake of your health. That really is important. It's, some people think it's fun and games, it's entertainment to them to have all that drama, but you might be taking some years off your life with all of that stress. It's not a game in the long run. But anyway, so like I said, history is not enough. If you're not happy, you're not happy. That's all there is to it. And then also, when it comes to kids, I grew up with parents that had the same arguments, literally the same argument for over 20 years. It did nothing to help me. When people say that they're staying together for the sake of the kids, they're really being selfish most of the time. That's the way I honestly feel about it. I know some people will hoot and holler right away and say, no, it's not like that. But let's be real. A lot of times it is selfishness because they don't want to deal with starting over, finding somebody new, and, one of them will have to move out and get their own place and all this. And it is inconvenient, but I think it's better off for kids in the long run, as opposed to seeing parents arguing all the time and fighting and fussing all of the time. And, you have some parents they will talk trash about the other parent, like directly to the kids, and, your father's this and that, or your mother's this and that, and, it's her fault or it's his fault, and all these things. That stuff is not healthy for kids. It's really not. And I feel like it's better to leave on good terms, work out, how you're going to make sure that the child gets time with each parent, and you can be involved in their lives. And, I think that's better than staying together and just having a child growing up in a miserable home where there's really not that real love there. I think it really sets a bad precedent as well, because, a lot of times children kind of go off of what they see. So you might have a girl who sees her mother, let's say, in a relationship where she feels like she's being neglected, or, the husband's openly cheating. Maybe there's even abuse going on, and, the girl sees this her whole life, and she thinks, well, that's just the way it is. So she grows up accepting it. And the same thing can happen to a young man. A young man can, you might see his mother, even running around or whatever, and thinks that's just the way women are. Or you might have a young man that sees his father running around, and he thinks that's okay as he grows up. So it's really not good for kids in the long run. And I know that separation is tough on kids, divorce is tough on kids, but like I said, I know from experience that growing up seeing parents arguing all the time, it's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare in the long run. So yeah, when you say you're gonna do what's best for the kids, really do what's best for the kids. And then also, when parents split and they are dealing with other people, you have to be very careful about who you deal with, who you bring around your kids. For one thing, it's not a good look, and I see men and women that are guilty of this just constantly bringing new people around their kids. That looks horrible. That really does look bad. And kids are smart. Kids notice a lot more than parents give them credit for. So that's just not a good look to do that. And then you got to think about the quality of the person that you bring around your kids as well. And I'll probably do a separate video talking in a lot more detail about this. I don't want to stray off topic too much, but I'll just say staying together because of kids, a lot of time to me, it's nonsense. It really doesn't help the kids in the long run. And then along with that, I talked about how it would be difficult to move on. I know that some people will stick together just because of finances, because they're helping each other out with the bills. And isn't that a depressing reason to stay together? I live alone. I'm not on the biggest salary, but I would not trade my peace for drama. Like the situations that I see some people in where I know they're not happy, where they're happier at work than they are at home. I was that way for a while. I was actually happier at work than I was at home, and it just shouldn't be that way. I don't care what your job is, how much you love your job. Your home should be your safe haven. It should be a place to rest, to relax, just to enjoy yourself. So, yeah, if you get to that point where you're feeling that you're happier at work, something's not right about that. And so yeah, even though things are difficult for me at times financially, still I have peace, and that means so much. I can pretty much do what I feel like. I mean, there's a lot of freedom to that. And yes, I do miss some things about a relationship, but at the same time, I would not put myself in a relationship where I know there is going to be drama. And this is something I have to point out as well. If you're getting to know somebody new, if things don't start off on the right foot, things normally don't get better, they get worse. Let's be real about that. That honeymoon period that you're supposed to have, if there's not even really a honeymoon period, if there's arguments and silly disagreements from the jump, then you probably are better off just going ahead and leaving each other alone, to be real. And if there's anything that you have that are non-negotiables, I think I've already said this before, stick to them. If you truly have non-negotiables, for example, if you don't like somebody that smokes, if you don't like, cigarette smoke or weed smoke, whatever it may be, if you truly don't like that, then don't deal with somebody that does it. If you don't like somebody who overindulges in drinking, then don't deal with somebody that does that. Don't start off on the wrong foot thinking that, I can get past this, or this may not be a big problem in the long run. So yeah, a lot of people, I think they end up stuck in bad situations just because they overlook things to begin with. And I'm guilty of that. I'm not just, pointing the finger at other people. I'm guilty of that too. I tried to play the superhero in a certain situation to try to make somebody's life better and her child's life better. And you can't change people that don't want to change. That's really what it comes down to. So you got to make sure that things start off on the right foot. Otherwise, you're just not going to be happy. So, yeah, I think a lot of times people know when it's time to move on, but they will still stick around just because it is difficult to start over. There's a lot that comes along with starting over. I think in the long run, though, it's worth it. And comparing men and women, I feel like a lot of times men are the ones that do finally leave, but of course a lot of times they end up leaving because they got another woman. Let's be real about that. They find somebody else and then they move on. And women I think are really guilty of just putting up with way too much and just sticking in a bad relationship until something traumatic happens, like a very bad situation happens, or they get left because the guy found somebody else and he finally decided to move on. But it shouldn't have to take that. If you know that things need to end and that is for the best, then go through it. Deal with that transition period, which can be, like I said, it can be a hassle, but it's really worth it in the long run. For me, I was lucky where my transition period, it wasn't too bad. I was definitely sad at first. I remember my first, and I was moved into the same house that I'm in right now, and I remember the first night here, it was really rough because, for one thing, I felt like I had put in so much work and so much effort, and like none of it was appreciated. I mean, literally, it felt like none of it was appreciated. And also, just feeling like I'm starting all over again. I hardly had anything in this house because I really didn't have a lot with me when I moved in with my ex, and then I didn't bring a lot over with me as well. So I really felt like an ant in this house because this is kind of a spacious house or whatever. So I just felt so small in here. I guess small literally and small figuratively, and it was rough. But I got past it, and I mean, I was a lot happier, in the long run. And then especially once the divorce was finalized, I was so happy that day. I was definitely glad that stress was just wrapped up and dealt with, And from time to time, I still think back. I still, get a little worked up thinking back about certain things. But, I can let it go, though, because, I mean, I am happier in the long run. So, yeah, people just got to realize that, the transition, yeah, it'll be tough, but it definitely is worth it in the long run. And you got to know also that you deserve happiness. And if you really want happiness, then you will do what it takes to find happiness. And this is where I have to be completely blunt, and I am about to wrap things up, but I'm going to say this. People that choose to stay and constantly say they're not happy, they're not victims. They're there by choice. They're not prisoners. They are there by choice. And you have some people that will stay in situations like that because they'll never admit it, but they like the drama. That's something that they feed off of. And also they want the attention from other people. They want to play victim. They want to be able to go to people and talk about, my husband or wife did such and such and such, and they just want to go on, and they want that constant attention. They want that drama. So yeah, they'll never own up to it. But if you think about it, what other good reason would they have to stay unless they do like that? Because they could choose to leave and be happy. So I don't feel bad for people that stay in situations like that for years and years and years. And I used to try to be that shoulder for people to cry on and people to vent and release it into everything and tell me about what's going on in their homes. But I'm just to the point now where I don't want to hear it. If you're choosing to stay, that's on you. That's your problem. That's nobody else's problem but yours. There's no excuse to do that. And I think I've said this before in a previous video where my ex, I will give her props because she was in a bad situation and she left with her son and actually stayed in a shelter for a while. And, I seriously applaud her for doing that. That's what a mother should do. So, even if you're in a situation where you feel like, you're with somebody, you're with somebody who's abusive and they're making all these threats, I'll find you and this and that. Nonsense. You can get the help that you need. You can find somewhere to stay. You can let the police know if you have to. Whatever it takes. There is no excuse for staying in a bad situation unless you want to be there. So, yeah, when it comes to me, I'm putting this out there, and it may sound cold, but I don't want to hear it from anybody anymore. If you're choosing to stay in a bad situation, that is on you. And that's all I have to say about it. So definitely look forward to your feedback. As always, please share this video if you feel like it will help anybody out. And definitely subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'm going to try to be pretty regular basis with these videos. And as I said before, my goal is to do one real life video, just like a real talk video about general life issues, social interactions and things. I want to do one video like that a week, one poem video a week, which yes, I really do need to get the poetry up and running. And then also one video like this about relationships. So yeah, stick it out with the channel, and I'm definitely going to stick to, try to stick to that somewhat of a schedule, 3 videos per week, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, thank you for taking the time to check out this video. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you all again real soon.